Hey guys, this is James bringing you guys another Inbetweenisode, another solo one, as you can see. So trying something kind of similar to the last episode with the lumber slut. Going to be reviewing another tea that is available in the West. Today I am drinking a raw Pu'erh 2007 CNNP 8891. This is a tea sold at Yunnan sourcing. It's a big 500 gram cake. I think it sells for $49. So it's quite inexpensive for the age, especially if you think about how much tea you're getting for the cost. It comes out to around 10 cents per gram, just slightly under that. So if you were to reduce that, for instance, to a 200 gram cake, this would be selling for about $20. So really inexpensive tea, considering it is now 11 years old, now that it is 2018. Thank you to JD, who is a local tea person, that gave me this sample. I've had this once before, having it a second time. We're going to drink through steep number 5 and steep number 6 here. And Scott describes this tea as on the dry end of wet storage. The tea was stored in Guangdong. And I think that kind of shows Scott's perspective on storage, in the sense that he has a lot of experience with a lot of different teas, but especially with Kunming stored teas. To me, this tea would fall into a pretty healthy range, I think, of dry storage. I would kind of say maybe it's on like the mid to wetter end of dry storage. It tastes like what I would expect sort of like a dry stored tea from Guangdong to taste like. Alright, so we're going to have a quick smell of the leaves here. Right now the smell is really woody. A few steeps ago I was getting a lot more florals. Early on there were some distinctive sort of like pine wood notes to it as well. I think it's pretty clearly a blend of different materials. It's been pretty dynamic, steep to steep, I would say. But anyways, here is steep number 5. The tea liqueur is pretty soft on its initially, especially for a raw pour. This infusion in particular, I'd say, is definitely one of the smoother ones. I think some of the earlier ones definitely had some dryness sort of at the finish, and you'd expect that sort of from a raw pour. So I think as I've steeped this out, the edges are starting to smooth. There's a little bit of that here. I think it's sort of paired with this sort of like dry feeling, maybe like dry fruits, dry apricots, that kind of thing. Again, a lot of woody notes to it. Pretty sweet all around. I would not say that this is a overly aggressive raw pour, or anything like that. And in my cup, it sort of has this light orange or very dark yellow look to it. Cheers. And so this 6th infusion, I infused it for just a little bit longer. So we'd ideally get just a stronger brew and a little bit more body. You might be able to get more of that pungency, the raw Pu'erh pungency to it. Excuse me, I have the poo burps. Yeah, it's just stronger, thicker brew. You definitely taste a little bit of bitterness at the front. I would say this tea is definitely on the softer end of semi-aged teas, but it still has some oomph. I'd say sort of on like just overall strength scale, if I were to rate it 0 to 10, I'd say 5. This is not like a tea that is so aggressive that you're like, oh, I need to put this away for another 10 years or something like that. Nor is it a tea that's like weak or insipid. It's a tea that I'd say falls very middle of the road in terms of strength. So in terms of future aging potential, there's some. It's not a tea that crosses me as like the first thing I would choose if I wanted to put something away for a long term. It has a nice mellowness to it. Now I'm letting sort of like the aftertaste sink in, and there's sort of a nice rising taste sort of in the throat. My mouth tastes sweet, sort of sweeter, dry fruits, I would say, just sort of lingering around. Quick smell here. Yeah, it's actually really quite surprisingly soft, and I'd say that's sort of catching me by surprise here. It definitely is sort of like a raw pu'erh, but like the mouthfeel and stuff like that is really soft and inviting. It's sweet, then you sort of get like a drier feeling, and then eventually it becomes sweet again. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of, like, standing out or anything like that, I would say that this tea it's a well-balanced tea, and it seems well-blended. It's interesting enough, steep to steep. I think it's really easy to put this tea at a very good value if you're looking at a raw pu'erh that you want to try, like, something that's, like, 10 or 11 years old, that's really well balanced, that has that's not overly strong on any single characteristic. I think it's hard to go wrong with this. It's also extremely inexpensive. If I am rating this tea, I am looking at Marco's scale right now, and I would say this tea falls at maybe around a 5.4. And please note that this is in a different scale than Bright Pu'erh, so value-wise, it's hard. I wouldn't compare it to those things. So this is sort of on the lower end of enjoyable, could drink regularly, but not overly impressive. I wouldn't expect anything overly impressive at this price range, so I think it's an extremely good value in that sense. Earlier I was getting some smoother, thicker caramel, brown sugar, floral notes to this as well. I'm re-referencing my older notes here. Really nice lingering sweetness. I had those 4 infusions in the morning, and now I am filming this just after lunch right here. And I can tell that this aftertaste is good, it's strong. So if you're looking to just sort of dip your toes in, or if you're looking for just a really fantastic value cake, I think it's hard to go wrong with this. The aroma now, more of those floral notes are coming out now that the temperature has just cooled a little bit. I think this will steep probably for 10 to 12 times, depending on how long you want to push it for. Definitely could steep it for another 30 seconds and get a pretty good, robust, strong brew to this right now. So thank you to JD for sending me this tea. Let me know how you guys like this, if you enjoy hearing the ratings and stuff like that. And thank you to Scott for sourcing this tea, and I will see you guys next time. Cheers.